I swear to God, I'm gonna kill this cat.
What is Sherlock doing?
He's jumping on the walls because I'm recording a podcast. Yeah, fucking, I hate it. Every time I record, all I can hear is...
He's jumping on the walls.
He's like legitimately jumping on the fucking wall, like as high as he can and scraping it, so I get his attention. It's so fucking annoying. Hello, welcome to episode definite 33 from the Unusual Suspects podcast.
Volume 2.
We haven't explained it yet. I'm Mr. Fuck Up Dan, and I'm joined by Penny.
Hi!
And Andy.
Hi!
So... how do we explain this?
Dan didn't record properly, everyone.
He done fucked up.
Okay, so let me just let's fade this music out for a bit. Let's get a bit serious here. So, firstly, I'd like to apologize to my two co-hosts. It sounds like I'm in a fucking court hearing. Jesus Christ. Oh, may come up later.
Foreshadowing.
We recorded 33 and had a great time. Lots of laughs, lots of tears were shed. You know, possibly the greatest episode of all time was recorded. Possibly. I mean, it was up there.
Definitely wasn't.
It was alright.
I can't remember what I talked about, so...
I can't remember a single thing.
I only know because I looked it up. You talked about I, Tonya, and it was really depressing.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that great?
That was depressing. I've been on a real streak of depressing films recently, haven't I?
Yeah, no one's missing out from this episode.
So anyway, the reason why I explain this is because we did record it, and unfortunately Dan's mic wasn't exactly recording correctly, and when I mean that, there was no track for his microphone. So I let everyone down, I let the team down, I let the listeners down. I apologize. Yes.
So the unofficial first episode that I didn't record properly is you and Andy.
Yes.
We've got tracks for that. We could take your track from that one and put it in with this one and see what happens.
And see what happens.
It's going to be a mess.
See what happens.
But I will say this, I'm the only one who hasn't fucked up. So.
That is true.
I fucked up the first one we did.
You did, yes.
I didn't know what I was doing.
I mean, you've come close to fucking up at quite a few though, Pen.
Yeah, but come close doesn't mean it happened.
Was this a staff meeting or something? What the
The
fuck?
only thing that I've done to fuck up is the content that I bring, because none of it is that enjoyable for anyone.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Anyway.
It's fine.
So, we've had to do a bit of a recovery situation with this, and yeah, we are talking about Hatchet 2 at the end of this podcast. We are going to do it in like a quicker way because we've already talked about it in a way, and if we were to repeat ourselves, I may feel my soul leaving from my body a little bit. That's all.
As if you can remember what we said, because I can't.
I don't remember yesterday.
I tell you why you don't remember. It's because you woke up and then we recorded. You had 5 minutes to wake up and then we recorded 7 p.m.
We don't. I don't fucking do that anymore. That's another fuck up I did. But by the way, we weren't going to mention.
No, but that was this episode.
That was this episode.
That's why you don't remember.
All right, I fucked up twice. I get it. All right, I missed the fucking 7 p.m. recording time on the Tuesday, and I accidentally had to re-record it on Thursday. And then when we re-recorded it on Thursday, I forgot to put my fucking mic on. I get it. It's my fault. We'll call this episode Dan Fucked Up if you want to. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Jesus Christ. Welcome to 33. Anyway, so what we're going to do is when we did our courtroom, to start off first, we did our courtroom episode a long time, a couple episodes ago. We accidentally did a lot of it. We previously on the courtroom episode talked about the MCU universe, and we actually did 2 extra segments. One about Neil Breen. You can guess who's defending that. And one about Toy Story 4. You can guess who's defending that. So
I'm still the judge.
Yeah.
And you're still the judge and everything, yes. So we're going to play you this lost segment, because we have a lost segment that we need to put in place as a feature. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Hatchet and we'll pretend like none of this ever fucking happened so we can all be fucking happy and stop blaming Dan for fucking faults of the podcast. Okay? We cool?
Yep.
Sure.
All right. I'm glad we had this conversation live while we're recording, not before. Anyway, so here is from last year, an episode of The Courtroom. Enjoy.
In the next episode of The Unusual Suspects Court, Neil Breen is not a Breenius. We have Joycey Cochran again.
What is his voice?
I'm trying to do, who's that guy I like? Who's the horror movie guy?
In a world.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I love it.
That's as close as you're going to get. So, Joycey Cochran, you are the prosecutor.
Sorry, I just had to play it again. Back again.
The lovely Lally McBeal is in the defense. So, opening statements from the prosecution, please.
Neil Breen has created a cult following over the past 10 years with his questionable films. However, similar to Tommy Wiseau, I'm not sure people enjoy the films as opposed to laughing at his misfortune. He's obviously trying hard, however, he just isn't that good at it. And I feel that people, I don't want to say it's tantamount to bullying, but, you know, it's tantamount to bullying.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Lally McBeal, your next argument.
Well, considering we just had an argument about me talking about shit films or films I don't think are very good, Neil Breen has created something that I consider art. There is no one like him on the planet. You could consider, Tommy Wiseau, and that's an honest statement, absolutely. Where is Tommy Wiseau? What's he done after The Room? He's done nothing. He's just got the money from what's it called? What's the film that they did that was a parody of The Room with James Franco? No one remembers that film.
Nope.
God, I don't even remember it. It was so memorable, wasn't it? That's the point. It was so memorable that I don't even remember the making of The Room, and I'm still trying to look it up.
They should have called it The Making of The Room.
The Disaster Artist.
Oh.
The Disaster Artist. He got a film made by him, by Tommy Wiseau. Where's the Neil Breen film? There surely should be a Neil Breen film here. He has made a grand total, as of right now, releasing his latest film. He's made 5 films. He's releasing his latest film in 2018. Tommy has not created 5 films, I'm pretty certain. He is a different god, Neil Breen, to Tommy Wiseau, and you should never compare him to him. Even though I did in the very first episode of The Unusual Suspects. Objection.
Sustained. So, Joycey Cochran, what is your first argument, please, that Neil Breen is not a Breenius?
The films just are not good. We've gone through the films here on this podcast, and honestly, it causes my brain to shut down. If you re-listen to those episodes, there are parts in it where I just cannot say anything because I am barely conscious watching it. It's poorly written. It's poorly directed. We've criticised major plot points throughout all of them. And yeah, it gets some laughs on this shitty little podcast. However...
Overruled. Objection.
Overruled. No, objection. Objection.
However, they are not good films. And that's why we watch them and talk about them, is because they are dreadful.
Rebuttal, Miss McBeal.
I can't believe you committed suicide is one of the greatest scenes in cinema history. There has been so many scenes that are, I would consider, a masterpiece in Neil Breen's cinematography, or his discography, whatever you call it. That's, there's too much to mention. We have only discussed, all right, 2 films on this podcast. And Andy already is upset with him. That's how much of an impact Neil Breen has had on his life. He thinks about him every day. He's constantly thinking about Double Down and the tuna.
I can't get the image of that ball bag out of my head.
And Penny can't get that image out of the ball bag out of her head for days now. It's been months. She needs to go to rehab about it. You know, we've tried counseling and everything. It just won't work. So he does leave an everlasting impression, whether it be ball bags, tuna tins, dying in pools, always sleeping with seemingly younger women than him and seemingly always gets the women for some reason because he's Neil Breen. Him just being a fucking great guy in every film, and you always cheer for Neil. He's never the bad guy, even though in Double Down it was very confusing for a minute what kind of terrorism he was trying to do. We didn't really know if it was a little bit of terrorism, as we discussed, or a big terrorism. But they're memorable films. Yes, they are shit, and I agree with you, they're shit, but there is no one who makes films like Neil Breen. They are the pinnacle of so bad they are good, and I could watch any of them any day on repeat forever. Thank you.
I think he literally just mic dropped there.
I dropped my phone. I think it's broke.
Being a judge that watches good bad films and being into horror, sometimes I end up watching bad films. And I might have to agree with Miss McBeal that as poorly made as they are more entertaining than some bad films that I've seen. Like that shitty Polaroid film I watched on Netflix a few weeks ago that I mentioned and said not to watch. So I'm going to give this one to Miss McBeal.
Your Honour, if I could continue my point.
Oh.
Objection, the decision has been made. Let's move on.
You watch good bad films, and you have also watched bad films, correct?
Yes.
Which do you prefer?
Good bad films.
Do you prefer the films that are so bad that you end up laughing at them, even though that's not the point?
See, I would take that as a good bad film.
And that's what you would categorise Neil Breen as.
Objection.
No.
Objection. I'm not comparing good films against Neil Breen films. That's a totally unfair advantage. Like, I'm not saying Neil Breen films are the greatest things of all time. They're just watchable. Like, they're bad, yes, but
they're not
watchable.
fucking watchable. They're terrible. They're so poorly written. We have watched some piss poor YouTube together, Dan. We've watched people unbox fridges, and yet that is more fucking watchable than the shit that Neil Breen puts in. No one wants to watch him eating a tin of tuna in a car. Why the fuck does he have so many laptops?
What's the cube?
Why does he have so many laptops? It's all irrelevant. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't write properly. The plot is terrible.
Sorry. Prosecutor, can you tell me what you're actually prosecuting against here? Because I don't really know what you're prosecuting against.
They are terrible films.
Yes, they are terrible films. I agree with you.
But they're terrible not in a good way. They are terrible in
How are they not in a good way?
Stab my eyes out with a fucking toothpick.
You sat there a few weeks ago and watched Double Down with me, and you were amazed by it. Can you agree? You were amazed by it.
I think you'll find...
Yes or no?
I said very little through it.
Yes.
Because I was absolutely gobsmacked at how shite it was. And I'm pretty sure the right honourable judge would agree, because I have voiced this opinion to her on more than one occasion.
I feel like this is...
Sorry, one last thing.
Okay.
I'm going to explain to you very shortly the synopsis for Twisted Pair, and tell me you do not want to watch this film, okay? Right? During their youth, Cade and his identical twin brother, Kale...
I'm in already.
Both portrayed by Neil Breen, were abducted by an unknown power and modified to become humanoids, secret agents who are out to stop evil. Please tell me you do not want to watch two versions of Neil Breen on the same fucking
But this is my
time.
point, right? You've split your sides laughing there. This is a guy who's trying to make films in a very serious way, but everyone takes the piss out of them for it because they're not good. And that is the point. They are not good films. That's why people like them.
Yeah, people like them. Newsflash.
I'm not saying people don't
No, you
like
didn't.
them.
You said people like them.
There are fucking idiots out there.
Oh, now I wouldn't insult our audience by saying they're fucking idiots. Objection to that.
What audience?
Whoa! Objection. He's now having a go at the audience that are already listening.
Sustained. If the argument is the films are not well done, then I would agree, which is the prosecution's argument. But the fact that if we're arguing that people like them and want to watch them, I'm also agreeing with that, because not everyone watches everything that anyone else does. So yes, that's a point each, because the films are terrible, but they're still... I would rather watch a Neil Breen film than... I can only think of that Polaroid film as the shittest one I've seen lately. A film that makes everyone laugh and go, what the fuck, rather than just a boring shit film. So you both get a point.
But they're not intended as comedies. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Everyone laughs at them.
That's what makes them so good. That's what makes them so good.
But you're laughing at someone else's work when it's not, when it's a serious piece of art. He's trying to make something that is worthwhile, and it gets ridiculed and mocked by other people. That's what I'm getting at.
He doesn't care. He keeps making them. He keeps chugging them out, and we keep laughing, and he's fine with it. He makes the money. It's fine.
It's the court of opinion. It's a bit like Miss McBeal's MCU argument. Like, just because she doesn't like them doesn't mean somebody else does. It's all court of opinion.
Exactly.
So,
thank you very much.
The films are not well done. Sorry, Neil. You need to make some more money. You need to up your production a bit. Maybe get some editing sorted and, you know, not bury not dead men in rocks and things. But
objection. I feel like it will lose the art of the Neil Breenius, as you clearly mentioned, if he did that.
See, now, is it Breenius if he's the fact that he's making them not to be funny?
Yes.
It's accidental Breenius.
That's the Breenius of it. But
that is pretty Breenius.
Yes.
The fact that this estate agent, or whatever he is making films with money and blowing up Vegas with stock footage. Pretty genius. None of us are doing that.
All right, well, you're wrong. You've made the wrong decision there.
So where I'm with you on the films are bad, Mr. Joyce, I'm giving it to Miss McBeal.
I just feel bad for him. Because he's obviously trying hard to do something.
He's trying hard,
a bit
but
different.
He's bringing joy.
He's doing what we all want, like between the three of us, what we would want to do. We would want to write and make a film. If we then released it and we found out everyone was laughing at it, I'd be pretty upset. The fact that like people are laughing and ridiculing him behind their back and saying it's so funny, it's hilarious, that's pretty hurtful.
I mean, we're not doing it to hurt Neil's feelings. They're still giving us joy in a strange way. But they
don't give me any joy.
Yeah.
They make me want to drown myself.
Yeah, but I can't...
In a swimming pool, like Jim.
I can't take the court of opinion into either of these just because Dan's wrong and doesn't like Ragnarok and you don't like Neil Breen films. That's not the point of the law, to rule on people's opinions.
Can I just bring up one statement that Andy kind of mentioned? He did say something about Neil Breen, if he feels bad for him because of what he's doing and stuff. To be honest, Neil's okay with it. If you look at interviews, because I've done my research already, I don't have to look anything up. He's okay with it. He's considered in many top 100s of greatest cult films of all time, like everywhere, and he loves it. The reaction and stuff that he gets from his films, if people want to go see it, he just sees that people want to go see it, and it doesn't compute with him that we like it for a certain way. For him, he thinks it's so good that people want to see it, but for us it's like, yeah, it's so good, but reasons.
All publicity is good publicity.
Exactly. He's making lots of money now. He's got a Twisted Pair 2 is coming out. It's in production at the moment. He's making he's having a great time. He's making loads of films,
living his best life.
Yeah. If he was unhappy,
if
he was unhappy, he wouldn't keep chugging out these films, but there is one in production already, so there you go.
That's pretty Breenius. He's gone from being an estate agent to doing what he loves. And isn't that what we all want to do? Maybe not get our ball bags out, but, you know, in some way, don't we? Don't we all want to be free enough to let our ball bags float around in someone else's pool?
Objection.
That's my closing.
Not sure where this euphemism is going.
Any more arguments, or are we done with the Breenius?
I'm done with Breenius.
I am done with Breenius.
Yeah, my closing statement was Dan's wrong.
My closing statement is, it's interesting. I wasn't the one who started that. I never set out to make a cult film. It's the film festivals that labelled it as a cult film. I honestly have no problem with it. I totally understand where they're coming from. It's a low-budget film, and some people may think it's good, while some people may hate it. Some people laugh at it, but others say it's the best thing they've ever seen. I get all ends. It doesn't bother me. All direct quote from Neil Breen. Thank you very much. Fucking drop the mic, done. I broke my mic. It fell off.
If anyone wants to recommend some more arguments for the People's Court, maybe
wait, we have one more.
Do it again?
We have one more. We have one more.
Oh, we have got one more. Sorry. Oh, I'm going to cut so much out of this. This is a fucking nightmare.
You're right, Penny. This is a nightmare. It's your nightmare, but you're not cutting it out. I am your friendly neighbourhood editor, Andy. You've got to stop committing to these. Oh, I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to cut out my balls ups. I'm going to fix it in post, because let's be honest, it's down to Dan and I. One thing's for certain though, when I'm on the edit, you don't get any running Keating. Fuck that guy. Let's carry on with the show.
Next on the Unusual Suspects Court, Toy Story 4. For or against? For the prosecution is... What did I call you? Joycey Cochran with Toy Story should not exist in its entirety. And Lally McBeal in the defence. You may begin, Mr. Joyce.
Now you can. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
My opening statement is this. Toy Story 4 is a travesty. It should not have been made. We've discussed this in sort of bits and pieces throughout the entirety of The Unusual Suspects so far. It was famously part of the Lost episode because Penn was useless and didn't record. However...
Objection, that's rude.
Yeah, sustained.
It's also factually accurate. However, it's an unnecessary film. You want to talk about trying to make money and sell toys? That is Toy Story. That is specifically what it is for.
Miss McBeal.
Yet again, we're here again on the Toy Story 4 debate. Yet again. Andy.
Mr. Joyce, please.
Sorry, Mrs. Joyce. Who buys toys?
Parents.
Parents, right? And when was the last time you see a parent with a toy?
I mean, depends what kind of toy, to be honest.
Right, so they're buying it for the kids, right? Just say they're buying it for the kids.
In most cases, they're buying it for the kids, but not always.
Not all cases, right? When was the last time you saw a Woody toy? A brand new one?
I'll be honest, mate, I don't spend much time around kids.
Objection! Answer the fucking question. When was the last time you saw a Woody toy?
6 months ago.
Where?
I was selling one to a parent who wanted it because Toy Story 4 came out.
So it was only you selling. It was you selling. The
I was
toy.
making the money.
So you were trying to get rid of the said toy that are being sold everywhere just because Toy Story 4 is around. You were selling the toy.
Yeah.
Well, I find that very ironic. Incredibly ironic. Buzz Lightyear. Have you seen a Buzz Lightyear toy be used by anyone?
I saw them both at the same time.
Were you selling both at the same time?
Yep.
Right. Well, I think my argument is pretty straightforward. He says that they're only there to sell toys, when in actual fact, the only one selling toys is Andy himself. And I find that extremely ironic that the guy who hates Toy Story 4 is the only one selling all the toys. I have not seen a Woody toy since 1999. No kid, objection, no kid buys toys or gets toys anymore. They get iPads, they get iPhones, and guess what they get the iPad for? To watch Toy Story 4 because they fucking enjoy it.
I've got a big old objection here.
Go on.
When was the last time you saw anyone selling toys or just buying toys in general?
What, any toy?
Any toy.
Probably the last time I went into a toy store.
There's a lot online right now.
And when was the last time you went into a toy store?
4 years ago.
That's my fucking point. That's not an argument then. You can't say no one was selling toys for Toy Story 4 when you didn't go into a toy store since 2017.
I'm just gonna... There is a 16-inch Woody toy from Toy Story 4 available from Very at $24.99 right now. There is...
Still not sold.
They don't just have one. There is a Toy Story 4 Woody available from Smith's Toy Store. There is one currently available in Argos.
Objection. Objection. He's trying to derail this conversation. He's not even talking about the fucking film. He's talking about toy
You're
sales.
right. I'll come back to the actual film momentarily. However, I will say this. One of the characters in this film is a plastic fork. I have it on good authority that places were selling a build-your-own forky character kit for £20. You could literally make that in your kitchen for £2. They're making an 18 quid markup on it for a fucking plastic fork and a bit of pipe wire.
So,
yeah.
Is this argument just about toys or is it about the movie? I'm waiting for the movie bit.
Yeah, me too. I'm afraid, Mr. Joyce, if you could beat that up a bit.
Where's the movie?
Okay, all right, let's crack on then. The film itself is largely pointless. As I've said before, the arc hasn't been about the toys, it's been about the owner of the toys, Andy, and how their relationship has changed over the years. Now, the end of the third film, which is the highest rated, before Dan starts looking up the facts and figures to try and catch me out here, on both Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, Toy Story 3 has got the highest rating. Now, Toy Story 4 changes that focus from the relationship they have with Andy to the relationship they have with each other. And that's not what it should be about. It undermines the entire franchise.
Okay. This is quite simple. there is clearly some disturbing childhood trauma going on here. Isn't it a bit ironic that one of the characters that owns all the toys is the same name of the prosecutor today? And isn't it a bit ironic that in Toy Story 3 he was also selling his toys off? Just like the prosecutor Andy was selling his toys off as well?
Miss Morissette, I don't think any of this is usable in court. Thank you. If you could please move on.
Why is my name Miss Morissette
Because
now?
you keep saying how it's ironic.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? But I think
I would like some arguments. I have not seen Toy Story 4.
I get,
so I would like some arguments about the movie, please.
Well, he hasn't talked about the movie yet. I'm just waiting for it.
No, he hasn't. But we don't need to bring up his childhood trauma or the fact he has the same name.
Yeah, I mean, I was born before the first film came out, and I sold the toys when Toy Story 4 came out.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, it's following his story, and he doesn't like that. I'm still waiting to talk about the film, but anytime you're ready.
I mean, I told you about the film. It changes the arc and the narrative from being about the owner of the toys who they look after and want to keep happy to about themselves.
It's called a script.
There have been many franchises that have changed arcs and carried on.
Yeah,
I'm afraid if we're going to go with the obvious horror movies. Jason in Space.
I agree with you. However, if you're going to do that, you give it longevity. You don't just cancel that after one film.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 is the last film in the Toy Story franchise. Unless they do something dramatic, which they won't.
Yeah.
It's the last film in the franchise.
Yeah, it is.
A franchise they've built around the sole character of Andy and his toys doing everything they can for him.
I think
the fourth film changes that to being about Woody. His character changes to such a degree in Toy Story 4 that he's almost unrecognizable. He does things that are totally out of character compared to the other films, and it undermines both him and the entire franchise.
Okay, I agree with you there. I do agree he does change his character in Toy Story 4. However, I feel like it's sort of a metaphor for kind of growing up. Andy is like his owner, like his mother or something, and he's had these toys for ages, and he lets them loose at the end of Toy Story 3. And Toy Story 4 is like the American Pie days of Woody, where he's going out on his own and he's trying to like find his purpose. And that's the main thing about that film, is Toy Story 4 is about finding your purpose. Toy Story 3 is about letting go and moving on. Toy Story 4 is about Toy Story 4 is about finding your purpose, which I think is a very, very important thing in life. And it tells, and it wouldn't have been, if I saw that film and it was
I was with you for a minute, Andy, but this is working.
If I saw that film and I felt like it was unnecessary, I would have come out and said it was unnecessary. But they executed, and I was going into Toy Story 4 with really low expectations. Trust me, I was. And I came out of that film thinking that is one of the best Toy Story films they've ever done. It was fucking fantastic.
Interesting.
So you're saying that 1, 2, and 3, if 3 is about letting go and 4 is about finding yourself, what's 1 and 2 about?
Character development.
So you've got 2 films of character development, which, bearing in mind, we don't need that in the Harry Potter franchise.
Yeah, we don't need that in Marvel, do we? But we got 23 films.
So 1 and 2 is character development. The payoff is 3 about letting go, and number 4 is about finding yourself.
Yep.
That's not what those films are about. They're not supposed to be watched from the perspective of the toys. It's supposed to be relatable for a child as they grow up.
No, they've always been from the perspective of the toys. They've never been from the perspective of Andy, if that's what you're trying to tell me, because that's bullshit.
Yeah, you don't see Andy pissing about, fucking around, doing whatever he would be doing. However, there is a relatability to Andy that as you grow up,
I bet there is.
You do distance yourself from those toys. The end of Toy Story 3 has one of the most poignant endings in cinema, where he lets go of his toys. He gives them to someone who is in greater need than he is. And, you know, it's a genuine emotional scene. That would have been the perfect way to finish that franchise. Instead, what they do is they twist it on their head, suddenly change it about making, the third one was about letting go because we're some fucking parent.
You're just being angry for the sake of being
angry.
angry.
Shut up, I'm still going. The third one is about, I'm the toys parent and I'm letting them go off to college and now they're going to fuck around with other toys and Woody's going to fuck Bo Peep, but it's all fine because it's American Pie, but the toys.
Sustained.
It doesn't make sense. That's not what they're about.
What?
I have a question. If they made a Toy Story 5 and continued the arc that they're on, and it's all about Woody and other toys and their adventures, and maybe Toy Story 5, Toy Story 6, would that be less of a problem for you? Is it because there's just 4 and they should have left it at 3?
No. Without giving spoilers for the fourth one, there are some big breakthroughs that happen that just change the whole premise of it entirely for me.
Okay.
So unless you want me to tell you what happens at the end of Toy Story 4, Pen.
No. We don't need to. It's unnecessary.
Oh, he doesn't want to. What? Why?
Yeah, I've already won this.
Because it helps your argument, Dan.
Somebody text me it.
You can text her.
It helps your argument that is being hidden away.
Objection. That's evidence.
Yeah, you're not giving the judge all of the facts and the evidence. So if somebody texts it to me,
I'm going to give a closing statement because I think this is one and done. If I'm being honest here, my closing statement is this: as I said before, I was skeptical going into Toy Story 4, and I didn't think it was going to be any good, and I came away thinking, "Oh my god, that's great." And I think a lot of people have this idea, I think it's just built into cinema, that trilogies have to be a thing and they have to be one and done. You can't do a fourth
3 and done
after a trilogy, or 3 and done, sorry. Fuck, I don't know my numbers. You can't do a fourth after a trilogy. If the movie is good, and it is good, and I don't know why, like, Andy may hate the fact there's a fourth, and that's fine, and that's okay, and he's allowed to have that opinion, but the fourth is a good film. It is a good film. And a lot of people have said it's a good film, because it is. And if they make good films after 4, 5, 6, and they keep making great Toy Story films, why not have great Toy Story films if they're good? As soon as they're shit, we'll say they're shit and never make them again. But they never make the shit one. They've always made good Toy Story films. Keep on fucking making them. Get those checks rolling in. There you go.
Is that a bit like how they keep making good Marvel films and then they're going to keep making some more?
Marvel had Thor.
Thor Ragnarok is fucking great. They need to keep going.
The first one
was good. I like the first one.
One of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. It is awful.
I just like that we're using the same arguments for different points for different films.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
I have very much got one hand tied behind my back here by not being able to discuss the ending of the fourth film here.
All right, spoilers are on. Spoilers are on. Go, do it.
Yeah, I've just read it, but yeah, tell me.
So in the first 3 films, Woody, although he's a bit of a dickhead, he spends every film trying to look after other toys, right? He throws himself out the window to rescue Buzz, he gets them back to Andy. Second film, he makes friends with Jessie and Bullseye, he gets them back to Andy. Third film, they all go to nursery, they all nearly get burnt to shit, he gets them back to Bonnie in this case. The fourth film, he fucks off to do his own thing with Bo Peep. The whole premise of those films is Woody looking after the toys and the toys looking after each other. In the fourth film, he decides to go and leave and fuck off with Bo Peep because that's what he wants to do.
Where do they go?
They never say. They just go off. They fuck off in an RC raccoon.
Why does he go off?
Sorry, have the credits just been rolled at me because I'm making the point?
I think so.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Convenient, isn't it?
I accidentally pressed the button.
So him and Bo Peep just decide to leave so they can bang.
Yeah, he finds Bo Peep in an antique store.
Oh, so she's new.
So Bo was in the first 2 films.
Oh, okay, yeah, and then he finds her again.
She's not in the third one, and in the fourth one, you see flashbacks of her leaving right at the beginning.
Okay.
He later finds her whilst they're on a road trip in the fourth one. And instead of sticking with Bonnie, with the rest of the toys, who he has looked after the whole time across 3 films, he decides to go off with Bo Peep purely because he's not being played with as much. So he quite selfishly decides that he doesn't need to look after any of his friends or Bonnie, his new owner, toy slaver.
Controversial.
I don't know what the technical term is. His child, because he would rather fuck off and piss around with Bo Peep.
That is pretty shitty.
That makes the whole premise of all of those films irrelevant because it changes what it is about.
Yeah.
It's fine to change an arc and change a narrative. However, you're changing a character so much that it, like, you can look back on the other films, see those negative points, and realise what is actually going on before it happens.
He grew up. He grew up.
He's a toy.
Toys don't
He's
grow
a toy.
up.
He's not a child.
Oh, well, sorry. I didn't know they could have fucking talk and everything. Of course they're not. Of course they're toys, but like that doesn't play into the fact that, oh yeah, they're talking toys. That the whole Kermit the Frog example goes out the window here, as we talked about in a couple of episodes ago. Doesn't matter that they are toys or anything. They're characters. That's the whole point. His character needed a purpose.
He's grown up and fucked off and left all his friends.
He hasn't grown up because he still had those selfish moments throughout every film, as I've talked about elsewhere to you both. He's done this thing through its entirety. The only reason he ever stuck around is because he was always getting played with. And now he's not getting played with. He's used that narcissism to leave.
What if the Toy Story 5, there's no Woody and it's Buzz and everybody else?
What it could be, and I don't want it to be.
I would be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
But they won't do it because Woody sells a lot of toys, so they won't do it.
All I'm gonna say is that Toy Story 4 is Woody growing up and finding his purpose. He's left his family, which is the toys, and he's decided, yes, I need to do something for me. And that's what we all feel in our lives sometimes when we leave our parents and we leave our families and we go out into the big open world, and there's stuff that's big and scary, but it's okay. You kind of you either have someone with you or you don't. It's okay either way. That's what Toy Story 4 is about. It's about growing up and finding your purpose.
It's not about growing up because he hasn't grown up in any of the other films. You don't see any of that development. If you saw glimpses of that in all of those films, fine. But you don't. You see him fuck off for a bit of porcelain gash, and that is it.
All right. Would you consider growing up learning things? Would you consider that a part of growing up?
Well, yeah, I would. But what has he learned?
Okay, well...
Tell me what he's learned.
All right, I'll tell you what he's learned. Buzz Lightyear. He can't fly. It's just falling with style. But in actual fact, at the end of fucking Toy Story 1, he could fucking fly. He's learned, and that's how he's grown up.
Yeah,
thank you very much. I could bring...
No, you're wrong, because that's Buzz who learns that. Because Buzz thinks he's a real space ranger and not a toy.
Buzz knows he can fly.
The first thing Woody says to him is, you are not a space ranger, you're a toy. You're Andy's toy.
Yes.
That's Woody saying that to Buzz. So he is breaking Buzz's dreams by telling him he is not a space ranger. He's a fucking toy. That's not Woody learning.
Yes, it is.
How is that Woody learning? That's Woody breaking down Buzz.
He just sees him as a toy. You are a toy is one of his quotes. He just sees him as a toy. He doesn't see them as anything else. Buzz Lightyear has greater aspirations. He wants to find that purpose in life, to go and defeat Zurg. But Woody's like, you're a toy. He's taking the fucking stance on this that you're taking on Toy Story. He's just a toy. Toys can't do this. But in actual fact, throughout the arc of the whole of the Toy Story films, they learn they're not just toys. They could do other stuff.
I agree with you. They do learn that, but not Woody. Because Woody, from the get-go, has known he is a toy.
Objection, he's a cowboy.
Sustained.
A cowboy fucking prosecutor over there, I think.
So, I ended up agreeing with both of you on that one. With Andy's point of it changing... don't you interrupt me. I like how I'm pointing at you and you can't see.
Me?
Miss McBeal.
I wasn't doing anything.
You look like you were about to say something.
I was nodding. I was agreeing with you.
So, having not seen it, the fact that he does go off and leave at the end of it and ditches his friends doesn't sound like it fits in with the rest of the movie. So I'm with you on that one, Andy. But I'm also with Miss McBeal that if you look at it from another way, that yes, they are more than toys and they can go off and do what they want. I'm with him on that one. So the argument that it doesn't need to exist...
I mean, that's
like a lot of
fine.
is like a nope.
He's just going to upset a small child. It doesn't matter.
Be quiet, Andy.
Doesn't matter because Woody gets to do what he wants. Woody does what he wants, and he does upset a small child.
Arrest that man.
Bailiff!
Arrest that man.
I'm with you from both sides, but when someone says a film doesn't need to exist, there is also the option that you don't have to watch it. I'm not going to agree with you that it doesn't need to exist. Because it does now. We can't take it back.
Who would have thought?
I don't know, but I agree with him that it's shitty and it doesn't fit in with the rest of the story. But then I'm also a horror baby. I'm used to it with Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, and they just do what they fucking want all the time, and you just have to get on with it. So
he's going to hate you for a long time.
I don't know. And that's the end of People's Court. Thanks, everyone.
And that was the episode of the courtroom.
I'm a great judge. I could be like Judge Rinder.
We had to do those links where we went into silence in the best of, and I think I left one of them in where Andy went, and here it is now. And we just can't do them without cracking a smile afterwards. It's just too weird for us, but either way. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. There you go. We can finally use that footage.
It's a welcome return of Lally McBeal. as well.
It is. It's been sorely missed, I think.
Possibly Penny's greatest pun on the show.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I
Yeah.
peaked.
Yeah. It's all downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a movie to talk about again. So let's talk about
The boys
Hatchet
are
2.
so happy that this is the one we have to talk about again. They weren't too happy to talk about it the first time.
No.
You know
weren't.
what I have to do as well? I have to say, I have to do the film out of the hat and pretend like it's we don't know what it was already.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do that. I wonder what it could be, guys. You have to stay tuned to the end of this. Anyway, let's talk about Hatchet 2. This was directed by Adam Green. This was Penny's choice. This was a film that, if you go back to very, very first film out of the hat we did Hatchet 1. Go listen to that if you want to know a little bit about like the lore of the Hatchet endings and stuff that we talk about in the podcast.
Victor Crowley.
Some of the stuff we still mention today comes up from the previous first Hatchet, so it's a reoccurring meme, I guess, at this point.
I had a couple of facts before we started.
Yes, go on.
The first movie cost $1.5 million to make,
Great film.
and it made 550,000 worldwide. And they did a really good job of making it look like a low budget horror movie on 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The second one, which I will say I hadn't watched for a while, and it's not as good as the first one. Sorry, everyone.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it.
Well, I thought you'd need to see the end, but then, as we'll get to later, it's got no end either. But the second one, they only got 800,000.
What a surprise.
I'm surprised they got 800,000 because it looks cheaper than that.
Yeah, it's not the cheap looking effects in the first one, especially I think where the old guy gets hatcheted in the shoulder.
Yeah.
You can tell he's got like a bigger shoulder thing on it, like it's not.
Yeah.
But it's great. But I'm impressed how they made it look cheap with that much money. And then when they only got 800,000 now, it just looks a bit naff. But it made $156,190 worldwide. So
And they still kept fucking making them. Spoiler
there's
alert.
still
There's two more after this.
Please tell me those other two aren't in the hat.
they are
Yeah, I was
not
gonna
in the
say.
hat.
Yet.
3 was terrible.
I tell you what, actually, if they were in the hat, I wish we'd got the third one before the second one.
Wouldn't have made any sense.
Yeah.
So we go from Hatchet 1, Hatchet 3, then back to Hatchet 2, like a prequel in between.
No.
Why would you go 3?
I think it'd be more entertaining than having them in order.
Hatchet 3 is bad. Hatchet 4...
Well, I mean, Hatchet 2 was shit, Pen. It wasn't great, was it?
Well, Hatchet 3 is worse, but then Hatchet 4, which is titled Victor Crowley, is back to Hatchet 1 territory. It is good.
So it doesn't have an ending.
I don't remember. I'll watch the DVD and let you know.
Anyway, let's talk about Hatchet 2. If you remember the first one, it ended on its Hatchet ending with Mary Beth about to be eaten? Oh, killed by Victor Crowley. See, I can't remember the film either. But she's on like a boat and Victor Crowley's about to kill her and stuff. And that's kind of where Hatchet ended. Now, the interesting fact about this to keen eagle-eyed viewers is that Mary Beth is a different Mary Beth in the second Mary Beth of Hatchet. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. From what I read is that they planned Hatchet 1 and 2 together. So that Hatchet ending was on purpose. And they were like, right, so we're going to do 2 films. But apparently they had some differences with the original actress. So they did not want her to be in the second one. And this is where the boys and I have very different opinions because I think Danielle Harris is amazing and she is like a fully fledged Scream Queen now.
Yeah.
And they hated her in this. But I feel like my argument is that she still had to be the same character as the one before. So I feel like she wasn't really her. She was playing off of that, but they don't agree with me. So
I disagree. I think they're totally different characters.
I think she's just bad at acting. I mean, it's just, I don't, we'll get into it.
I'm pretty sure she's in another film I put in the hat. So
Oh, good. Well,
Great.
Can't wait to revisit that.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. I hope it's Hatchet 3.
It's not.
Right, so essentially Hatchet 2 opens up with the ending of Hatchet 1. Different Mary Beth, but we'll ignore that for now. She escapes! And she ends up going to a guy called Jack Cracker, who I was informed was the guy in the first scene in the first Hatchet, after I fucking forgot Hatchet 1 out of my memory, of course, and he was the hillbilly.
He was the piss drinker, wasn't he?
He was the piss drinker.
Yeah, on the swamp.
And he ends up finding her. He pulls her out of the river and takes her back to the cabin, his cabin, and he finds out her name. And when he hears her second name, which I immediately forgot what her second name is and the relevance of that.
Dunstan.
Oh, yeah.
Dunstan, thank you.
Oh, like the orangutan. Sorry.
I was going to say, I wonder if she checks in at any point.
Fuck's sake. So he immediately goes, says her name, and the helpful piss drinker goes from helpfulness to get out, you need to get out, and point a shotgun at you. Your second name is evil, or giving off that impression pretty much. And he says, if you want to know more, just so we can move this plot along, you need to see Reverend Zombie. Thanks. And she leaves. Moments after, he ends up finding Shapiro's camcorder, who was the guy in the first one, if you remember, who had the two women with him.
Yeah.
And he used to film ladies, naked ladies, and that's his character arc, I guess.
Bayou Beavers.
That scene was too long. Like, because he looks through his camcorder, doesn't he? So we realise it. But there's just,
There's
like
too many tits.
Yeah, like in a Family Guy joke, where it's funny because it goes on slightly too long.
Yeah.
This goes on even longer and is no longer funny. It's unnecessary.
He also takes a video of a small child.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, Mister, I'm like 14.
I don't know. Why was that in there? Does that just mean to add a plot or some character development that he was like possibly a paedophile? Is that really what it was there for?
I
don't
imagine
know.
it's to add a bit of humour.
Oh, okay.
And they missed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big swing and a miss, isn't it?
Massively. Yeah. Right. Well, anyway, he ends up watching the camcorder and all the videos on it. And then he gets killed by Victor Crowley. And he ends up getting his intestines out and strangles him with his intestines after he decapitates him. Which is something that I will give praise to Hatchet 2, is that it has fun killings and kind of silly, over the top, but it's also, funny.
I did like that he was trying to run away, but I'm like, dude, he's got your intestines. You're making this worse.
Yeah, I was thinking that, you've only got, how long's the large intestine? You've only got a couple of meters, right, to run away. I don't know. Anyway, Mary Beth returns to Reverend Zombie's shop.
Not before we see Adam Green throwing up again, because you've got to have that little cameo in your own movie.
And you said he did it in the first one, right? As well?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
He's puking in the first
guy.
one. Yeah, and also there was a little Easter egg, I think. He turns the TV off, and it's a woman on the TV. It's supposed to be like a news broadcast of how she's never going skiing again. And I think that's a little homage to Adam Green's scary movie Frozen.
Yeah.
Not the Disney film Frozen, which Dan once mistook him as the director for.
Do you think kids that accidentally, if there was, I don't know, some parents that maybe are downloading it illegally, they accidentally got the wrong version and showed their kids that? Yeah, do you maybe that could have happened, possibly, with the same film?
I can imagine Penn shouting, "No, kids, that's not the Frozen you want to watch," and then showing them that one.
There's a really
Here's the right
fun conspiracy theory. I read somewhere that they were they've made a movie called Frozen, so that when you search for Disney Frozen, the first thing that comes up is the movie and not Walt Disney Frozen somewhere cryogenically. I heard that's why they called it Frozen.
Interesting.
Which I would love that to be true.
Yeah.
Well, Mary Beth ends up going to Reverend Zombie, and he basically explains to her that he had a little business going on with Sean, who was the tour guide, who was murdered the night before in Hatchet 1. The boat that they were on was one of his own. He also learns about Mary Beth's Dunstan checking in last name. And he also then goes on this whole tangent saying, oh, your father was one of the boys responsible for causing the fire that led to Victor Crowley's death. How coincidental is that, Mary Beth? Oh my God. No wonder everything is happening to you. Trope. Sorry.
I mean, it's still a horror movie. They're not going to change that.
Yeah. He also tells the story about Thomas, who was Victor's father.
Kane Hodder, yeah.
We get this scene where... So basically, Thomas's wife is ill. She has stomach cancer, right? Isn't that the illness?
It's something, yeah.
So she's like lying in a living room, and there's also a nurse there. And Thomas, Victor's... Why are you laughing?
I'm just waiting for you to get to it.
She's like lying in the living room. Thomas is there, a nurse is there. They're all like watching over his wife, and he ends up fucking the nurse, essentially.
She's a maid, but yeah.
No, she's not. She's a nurse.
So I thought she was a nurse.
No, she's a maid, isn't she?
Why would the maid?
No.
Why would the maid be there?
No,
I thought she was a maid.
No, she's the nurse for his wife, and because
well, that totally changes it.
Because she's so ill for so long, they strike up a relationship. And then they bang, and it
in front of her of his dying.
No, she's not in the
wife,
same
though.
room when they bang. She's in the bedroom.
Yeah, and they're banging in the kitchen.
They're in the kitchen, like she's next door.
Yeah, she's dying. She doesn't. She's probably shot up full of morphine. She's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Don't know what example
it's
you're
supposed to be
people.
poignant or something. Probably. I mean,
Something
personally,
along those lines.
I didn't need this storyline at all. But
Anyway, moments before dying, Thomas's wife places what ends up Thomas's fling with the nurse. She ends up getting pregnant, and this is where the film just goes, "What? Where are we going?"
Yeah.
So Thomas's actual wife, before she dies, places a curse on the baby because she has superpowers apparently, and she's able to place curses on babies that are not even born yet. And
they should have just left him as a deformed kid. Like, it happens. Like, I didn't need this bit.
Well,
I didn't need an explanation.
when the baby gets born, the nurse dies after giving birth to deformed Victor Crowley. And then there's this whole scene where Thomas is having a flashback to when Victor was trapped in a shed, a shack.
Their house.
Looks like a shed, in fairness.
Their cabin.
Looks like a shed cabin. Victor was essentially inside the cabin. The house was going on fire. Thomas was outside the father trying to get in. And we also learned that there was 3 other people that were involved who started the fire outside of. And
They threw firecrackers at the house to scare Victor and then accidentally, because their house was made completely of wood,
yes,
accidentally set it on fire.
And this is where one of the boys is where Reverend Zombie mentioned that your father was one of these boys. The other 2 we don't know yet, but he was responsible for the death of Victor Crowley. Yada, yada, yada. Victor ended up getting burnt and everything. Thomas couldn't save him.
What?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He got hatcheted in the face. That's the name of the movie.
Oh, yeah, through the
and
door.
Andy thought it was funny. So
Yeah.
Thomas is trying to get in and he's hacking away at the door with the hatchet to try and let Victor out, but Victor's pushed up against the door. He gets hatcheted in the face, hence the name of the story, and Andy thinks that's hilarious.
It is hilarious, because if you see someone trying to cut through a door, you don't stand next... I mean, they don't do that in The Shining, do they?
But he's a bit special, Victor.
He's not sticking... Jack Nicholson's not sticking his head going through the door going, here is Jar, fuck, I've cut her in the face.
She is quite
Shelley.
near the door, though.
She's in the bath.
She's in the corner screaming.
She looks quite close to the door, though.
That's just perspective.
Anyway, so that happens, and this is my favorite line that I'm reading. Thomas becomes a shut-in and eventually dies 10 years later of a broken heart.
Takes a long time.
Big heart.
Just fucking die of a broken heart.
Have you seen Kane Hodder, though? I bet his heart is massive. His neck is
He's
ridiculous.
a big dude. He has a thick neck here.
He's only 6 foot, isn't he? He's shorter than I am.
Yeah, but I've stood next to him. I mean, I know I'm tiny, but he's a fucking unit. He's his neck is thicker than my head.
Yeah, but you've got a very small head.
I mean, it's not very small. It's average.
So we then learn... Fuck's sake. We then learn that essentially it's his swamp, Victor's swamp. And anyone who comes into Victor's swamp, like Shrek, essentially, we're going with the storyline of Shrek. Anyone who comes into the Honey Island swamp gets killed because he owns the swamp.
It's so much exposition for part 2 of a story. We don't need to do it all over again.
Nope.
That was my biggest problem with this movie, that we have to explain it all over again. Didn't we decide it was I don't know how long the film was, but it was like...
It was half of the film.
It was half the
like
film
exposition. Yeah,
was exposition, and technically we didn't need it because we know all this from before.
Well, we're going to get more exposition because we need a plot line for making Hatchet 2, and here it goes. So, Mary Beth tells Reverend Zombie she wants to go back and get the remains of her father and brother. He agrees, but he said he must bring a family member with her, which I had a problem with because, like, why a family member? Couldn't it be a friend? No, it has to be a family member.
Specifically, the uncle. He keeps mentioning.
Uncle?
Why don't you bring your uncle?
Oh, he's a great old chap. Why don't you bring him along? He's a good laugh.
Uncle. I hear he's quite the hunter. And then he looks like a fucking accountant.
Yeah, he's not subtle, is he, Reverend Zombie, with that one?
I don't think anything is like, it was very obvious from when he was talking to her that there's something like the fact that it was missing plot lines of like who burned down the cabin, what the other two boys were, and he was like, oh, you should definitely bring your uncle. Like, I'm thinking, it's the uncle, isn't it? The uncle was one of the other people, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of so obvious, but yeah, I guess there you go. Reverend Zombie, he calls Justin, who is Sean's brother.
Yeah.
Who's the same, as I learned, is the same actor, because I forgot from the first film. It's the same dude.
This could have been so well utilised, though. So, yeah, Sean is dead, and they bring in his brother, Justin, and is the same actor with facial hair.
There you go.
They don't make enough use of... Seeing as how Sean was possibly my favourite character in the first one, he was pretty funny. They don't really use him enough in this one. And I think what we learned when we recorded this originally is that he's in the third one. He is I don't know if he's the main character in the third one or if he's the main character in the fourth one.
I think he's the main character in the fourth one. In the third one, he has a side arc, but he is in a...
So he basically comes back every time.
Yeah.
Parry Shen is the actor. They obviously were like, he's great, he's really funny, let's just make him a twin brother, that's fucking great. And then they just failed with it, I think, in my opinion.
So, because Justin is Sean's brother and is equally confusing because they're the same people, Reverend Zombie says to him that Sean never returned with the boat. He might be still out there, and convinces Justin, oh, you can come along too. This good old trip, Mary Beth and her uncle. And you know what? We're going to need some hunters. So we're going to round some hunters up.
I think it's pronounced fodder. We need some characters to murder.
We need some side characters so we get more deaths in this thing. So we're going to round up a group of hunters. Bearing in mind, all this takes place in 2 days, by the way. Like the first Hatchet is day 1. Hatchet 2 is day 2. And like it's crazy all this shit happens in like 2 days, but either way.
I mean, it feels like 2 days watching it.
A little bit, yeah. So they end up getting a group of hunters together. There is a man called Trent Graves who goes with them. He's a big bikery looking dude, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, Mary Beth will...
There's the chicken and biscuits guy.
Oh, God, yeah.
Who I think
He's the milk and cookies guy first, though, isn't he?
Oh, he is, yeah.
Cleus and Chad, my 2 favourites of this film, if I had to pick someone.
Oof.
I guess.
Slim pickings.
I mean, it is a little bit.
And then the guy and his ex-girlfriend.
Yes, as well, and we'll get to them later.
The best part of this scene is when Reverend Zombie comes out from, like, behind a doorway.
Yeah.
To talk to them, and he's got his own entrance music.
Fabulous.
It's like he's trialing for WWE or something. I was expecting fireworks and everything, except there's no noise from everyone else, and he just awkwardly has to turn off the CD player himself.
During this time, Bob says to Mary Beth he needs to stay away from Reverend Zombie.
Should we talk about who Bob is, because you were really confused?
Bob's the uncle.
Bob's the uncle.
Bob Fanny's your aunt, Robert's from Robert's brother.
Bob is played by Tom Holland.
Oh, not this prick again.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Tom
Spider-Man.
Holland.
Not Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
So when I first saw the credits to this, I was like, oh, a young Tom Holland's in it. And then throughout the whole film, I was like, when does he turn up? And it never turned up. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's not in it. And then I
assumed he was the young Victor Crowley.
Yeah, or something, or the flashback scenes, like the boys or something. I thought it was one of them. I couldn't find it. I was very confused by the whole thing, but yeah.
For people that watch horror movies, Tom Holland is a very famous writer. He wrote Fright Night, Child's Play, thinner, like wrote the screenplays and stuff for that. So in the horror world, he is a famous dude. But yeah, now I mean, what was this? 2000 and this was a while ago. So this was Spider-Man would have been like
10.
This was 11 years ago. He would have been like 10, I guess. How old is Tom Holland? I don't know.
Maybe Tom Holland should stick to horror writing and not horror acting because he was not good.
I bet that was a thing. Like Adam Green was like fanboying and wanted to get him in the movie.
He was about as wooden as Victor Crowley's shack.
Great link. Anyway, so Zombie tells the hunters he's going to pay $500 each to get the boat, and he'll pay $5,000 for the head of Victor Crowley. So they're all going to go on a little hunting trip. I think we spoke about before when we said the reasoning they want to go in there is because they all have links to Victor, right? So they want to kill him, or they just want the money?
They don't believe him. They want the money.
Oh.
They think it's going to be easy because they don't believe he exists.
But he specifically says to Trent, as everyone walks away, Reverend Zombie, he says to Trent, he'll pay him double to go. And Trent agrees.
Because Trent doesn't want to, does he?
I wonder why he didn't pay him double. Like, all of it is so obvious. It's just like, oh, now that's the third guy linked to the three boys and the... Yeah, okay. So, all the linking is kind of obvious, and it's very, like, very obvious to know what's going on here, why Reverend Zombie wants all three of them to be there. They end up going into the swamp. This bit's confusing. Everyone splits up.
Why?
Because that's what you do in a horror film.
It doesn't make... Like, I think they go in pairs, like the Cletus and Chad go together, the couple go together, Bob and Mary Beth and Justin go together. There's all like a group mix of people.
Who's the guy that doesn't speak? He goes with chicken and biscuits, doesn't he?
John or Jim or Graham or
someone.
John or Jim or Graham.
He looked like all of those.
Oh, I do love trying to remember
films. He also looks
films.
like an accountant as well, didn't he?
Wasn't it? Because I feel like Trent and that go to actually do stuff, and then everyone else is just like bored and they don't want
having
to
a
sit by the
smoke,
boat.
having a piss.
Yeah. And then they just get bored and wander off.
I don't think anyone does anything in this film. I think they just go for a trip and go, "Oh, nice day to be by the swamp," and then dead. That's pretty much how it feels like a little bit. But
the big quiet dude is called John.
John,
nailed it.
perfect.
He is it.
John the accountant, fantastic. So they all basically end up swinging off. Cleese and Chad, they stay by the boat. The others fan out.
Oh, because they start looking for gators, don't they? They're like, we might as well shoot some gators while we're here.
Yeah, while we're here, we might as well shoot some gators. Why? Okay.
Because I think they're gator hunters and they're not allowed to hunt in that swamp because it's closed.
Yeah,
so they're like, well...
How is that not? That's not helping the situation. That's going to... A loud noise is going to attract fucking Victor Crowley to your location.
But they don't believe in him.
I don't understand why no one else heard the gunshots and thought, shit, something's going down.
That too, yeah.
It depends how far... Doesn't it take them a while to get into the swamp? I feel like nobody lives near it.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of living plot holes, so I'm just...
All that dense underbrush or something. Probably. I've never been to a swamp. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, along the way, Zombie explains to Justin that Trent and Mary Beth's father and uncle were the kids who started the fire that led to Victor's death. And Zombie believes, shocker, if Crowley kills Bob and Trent, his soul will be at peace and he'll eventually leave the swamp, like a Disney film.
I don't know where he got that from, but fair enough.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
What, if somebody snogs Victor Crowley, then...
Yeah, exactly. Before the last petal of the rose falls, if someone snogs Victor Crowley, he'll turn back into Prince Charming.
You couldn't kiss that face.
All right, it's not his fault.
I didn't say it was, I just said I wouldn't kiss it.
He had a curse on him placed by his mother. Not his mother, his ex-mother, no, his whatever, friend of the family.
Friend of the family.
I don't know. It's not her baby.
The woman that died in his house.
Yeah, but it's not her baby. It's the nurse's baby. So friend of the friend. It's placed curse. Anyway, they end up doing a bunch of stuff. They go to this shed. They check out the main cabin.
They can't find her dad and her brother, can they? That's who they go looking for. And they can't find them.
But meanwhile, the rest of the hunting party, who very cleverly split up from everyone else, they all get murdered. So Chad is violently hacked in the face with Victor's hatchet. Very, very messy.
Yeah.
Cletus's face is pushed under a boat propeller while
that
underwater.
was a good one. He looked like a Demogorgon afterwards.
It's pretty good.
That was good.
This one is my favorite. So while Leighton and Avery, which is the couple, they're having, it says on Wikipedia, makeup sex. During one sex, they are banging. And while they're banging, Victor, so they're doing it like, to give you perspective, they're doing it doggy style.
Wait. They've got the worst sex talk. Do you remember any of it?
I don't remember it.
She's like, you like this? You like this better than ice cream?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and then she's like, you like it better than Jesus? And he's like,
Jesus, yeah.
Well, I don't know if I like it better than Jesus. And she's like, say you like it better than Jesus. Because he's also he's engaged to someone else, isn't he?
Yeah. She then says better than baby Jesus, which makes it weirder.
Yeah, what's baby Jesus?
Yeah, she's weird with the fucking sex talk. That's
and she's like, say you love me. And he's like, don't really, but...
But while they're having sex, Victor appears and he basically slices Leighton's head off. Now, I'm going into detail here, just in case anyone's seen the film. Now, because Leighton is doing it doggy style, Avery doesn't see from behind that his head is chopped off. So she's still going on with the whole sex, even though she's literally having sex to a headless man at this point.
Does it count as necrophilia?
I think it does at this point.
Or is it snuff?
It was a good 10 seconds, right?
Is it? Like, technically, the dead body's fucking her. Isn't necrophilia when you fuck a dead body?
He's not moving. He's not going to be moving.
He's twitching.
No, he is, yeah.
He twitches.
He's twitching and still
and he carries on moving.
Oh.
So that's why she doesn't notice. And then when he stops, she
So what
pushes
you're saying
against
here-
him and she's like, but yeah, isn't necrophilia when you bang a dead body, not when a dead body bangs you?
Penny, are we justifying if this is right or wrong? Like, I'm immediately just...
No, I'm trying to work out the semantics of it. Is it necrophilia if the dead body is banging you?
Write in, let us know if you know the answer to this question.
If you know the answer. Anyway, she tries to run away. Victor chops between her hatchet. Sorry.
Her axe wound.
Between her axe wounds and then in her chest, and she's dead. So, we finally got rid of all those important characters. It only lasted about 20 minutes or so.
No, you got two more left. You got
two more.
Chicky Biscuits and John Jeff Graham.
John Jeff Graham, the accountant.
John and Vernon, who... Vernon. These names are so English.
So shit, aren't they?
It's like a British soap or something. Fucking hell. Victor gets a chainsaw that's a really long chainsaw.
It's ridiculously long, isn't it?
Ridiculously long. And he ends up like splitting the two of them, lifting them up with the chainsaw in between their groin, both of them at the same time, and then splitting them literally in half between the groin. Very nice. Very, very entertaining deaths, I gotta be honest. They're funny. That's the one thing I really like about this Hatchet is like the deaths are like entertaining enough to be interesting. They're
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
like,
bit.
There's
Maybe
scary
one.
movie levels of death.
Yeah.
Like when fucking Avery gets hatcheted in the chest and then the hatchet is stuck in her sternum, so he's trying to take it out and her tits are going everywhere. That's scary movie level death. And that it breaks it a little bit for me.
So pretty much everyone's dead except for Mary Beth, Justin, Trent, Reverend Zombie, and Uncle Bob. Yeah, so they're all together. And Justin tells Mary Beth of Zombie's plot to get her and her uncle and Trent killed. And after Mary Beth tells Justin that no, Sean is dead. I don't know what you're thinking of doing here, but Sean is definitely dead. He's definitely not here. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to Rev Zombie. He's telling lies. And then, so I have a problem with doors in Hatchet. A real fucking problem with doors, and it happens right here. This is like exhibit number 1. So Mary Beth runs away to warn Bob. They hear like Victor Crowley in the background stuff, and they're in this kind of, it's really hard to figure out the set. When I was watching it, I was like, this set is really strange. Justin and Mary Beth are in a house that has a door, but then there's like a giant fucking hole in the side of the house as well. And when Mary Beth runs away, Justin gets a chair, puts it up against the door, but then you're just blocking the only exit apart from this giant hole where the noise is coming from.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what? I thought he was stopping Victor from like sacrificing himself, like slowing Victor down so he doesn't get to Mary Beth. But I'm thinking he's just a fucking idiot at this point as well. Maybe.
Well, he's terrified though, isn't he? He's legitimately terrified.
Yeah.
Like, you don't jam the door where your only escape is at this point.
Has he, like, would you have noticed though? Like, is he not just like, he's banging on the door, I'm trying to stop him getting in the door, rather than...
I don't know. What is more easily accessible? A door with a chair on it or a hole in the wall?
But Victor's not trying to get in the hole in the wall, he's trying to get in the door.
Yeah, but that's the whole... yeah, I know. Okay, fair enough. But anyway, Victor appears and he kills him.
Yeah.
He ends up getting like a belt sander and he...
I love that belt sander.
Classic.
Sand away his brain away. Gets it nice and smooth for some... put some varnish on it, I guess.
Goes in the back of the skull this time rather than through the jaw like in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta get creative. So, Justin is dead, unfortunately. Don't worry, he'll be back. He'll be back in the third one.
Now I'm like, who is he in the third one? But carry on.
We know who he is. We looked this up last time.
Yeah, but I can't... Does he play... Who does he play? Is
Plays
he like...
a paramedic called Andrew.
Oh, yeah. There we go. So he's the triplet. And then he's Andrew in the fourth one.
Yeah.
Continue.
So Bob tries to save Justin. He accidentally releases Victor. Mary Beth attempts to attack him, but is tossed against the wall. Victor then sees Trent, and because flashbacks, Vietnam War, immediately goes after him.
I mean, he killed him. Like, you would.
No, like, you know what I mean? You have the Vietnam flashback. It's a meme, you know? It's the guy who burned down my shed.
I love that you just said, a Vietnam flashback, the meme. Like, you could have just stayed with Vietnam flashback.
Everyone knows.
All I can think of is the Vietnam dog.
Yeah, that's it. That's why it's... Oh, whatever. Everyone knows what I mean. Not you two, anyway. Anyway.
Post that on the artwork. That would be perfect.
Victor goes after Trent. They have a battle in the kitchen. Unfortunately, Trent dies. And he does a thing which is probably the funniest death in my opinion. Just how clean and unrealistic it is a little bit. But either way. Trent gets his head on a table, like in between the table. His mouth is kind of like...
Yeah.
Held in between.
Well, he kind of curb stomps him with the table, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Curb stomps him the table. And then Victor kicks his head, and it just goes neatly off onto the table, his head. Yeah. And his eyes are open and everything, and it's just his head just lying there on the table.
It was very smooth. You're right.
Very smooth, yeah.
It was annoying.
Okay. Fine. So meanwhile, Zombie goes after, grabs Mary Beth, drags her out of the house. He also traps Bob inside with Victor in a very, very thin door that's trapped Bob. Like the thinnest door with the hole in it that's trapped Bob.
This is a door that a hatchet went through and killed a child.
Exactly, very easily. Now, Bob doesn't think, I could kick down this door, but I'm old. I can't do it. No, but you could reach around, put your hand through the fucking hole, Bob, and open the door from the front. But he doesn't do that. He just stares at Mary Beth through the fucking hole and go, I'll be fine. I'm like, you could open the fucking door, Bob. Like, come on. It just
needs to utilise the reach around better.
Everyone knows how to do a good reach around, and Bob is clearly disappointing that community of people. Anyway. So, unfortunately, Bob dies because jam gets sprayed everywhere. Red jam all over the windows. And Mary Beth is all sad. Rob Zombie, I nearly called him.
God, I wish it was.
God. Rev Zombie or Reverend Zombie is like, yes, it's all over. The 3 have died. The prophecy that I came up with in my own fucking head apparently has come true.
I've written that he doesn't need to explain how uncles work, which I don't remember him doing, but obviously at some point he's explaining to Mary Beth how uncles, like, I think he says, like, your uncle, your brother, your dad's brother, like, he has to explain.
The husband of your aunt.
Yeah, but they do that to recap stuff, like, just so you remember.
Like, we know what an uncle is.
Like, in new seasons of, like, a television program, they'll go, you know, your brother, or something, or, like, they'll say a line that, this is just... Anyway.
But he explains the uncle earlier on. Like an hour before, when he was doing the fucking 3 days worth of exposition.
And I'm sure he's like, your dad, Trent, and your uncle, your dad's brother. Oh, the kids that killed everyone. I'm like, okay, I know what an uncle is, thanks.
Just so I'm clear, it's your brother. Anyway, so Zombie is all happy and and he's like, oh, it's all over. Victor Crowley's dead. The swamp is returned back to public access. We're so happy. Until, big twist coming. Mary Beth tells Zombie that she's going to report the crimes to the police, but Zombie says no, he's going to shoot her.
That was a rookie move on her part.
Yeah. And then Mary Beth reveals to Zombie that Bob is not a real uncle. Her father's
My
brother...
uncle died of leukemia when I was 7, I think, is what she says.
Yeah.
And Bob was her father's best friend, so she decided to...
probably accountant.
Wait. So...
It was her daddy's accountant, Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob.
Been with the family a long time, doing all the books.
I suppose, technically, it is irrelevant because it didn't work anyway. I was going to say, like, well, her uncle was already dead, but...
I think they need to be killed by Crowley.
Why did Zombie think, when he said, you should bring your uncle, why did he immediately think that was her uncle?
Because she said, my Uncle Bob. She did call him Uncle Bob.
Oh, because she's doing Uncle Bob as in...
I have an uncle who's not my uncle.
Yeah, I see now.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay, that makes some sense. Possibly.
So it's kind of funnier, really, that he was like, your uncle, your dad's brother. And she's like, he's not really.
I'm not telling you something. Anyway, Zombie turns around and sees Victor breaking through the easily accessible door that you could break down through the cabin. And Zombie gets killed by getting skinned alive. So he gets cut in the waist. Yeah. Victor then picks him up and rips out the spine from the back of Zombie, where it pulls the whole skin off, and then it's just his muscle.
It's so good. He looks
it's
like...
It's really creative doing that.
He looks like in Hellraiser. He looks like... I can't think what it is in Hellraiser. I think maybe it's Uncle... Oh, my horror movie nerd card's going to be taken away. I think it's when Uncle Frank gets skinned alive, but somebody is skinned alive in one of the Hellraisers, and he looks just like
Another uncle. Bloody hell.
Yeah, they're everywhere. That's a great death, though.
While he's doing that, smart Mary Beth strikes him in the forehead, Victor Crowley, with his own hatchet, knocking him to the ground. Then she beats the living shit out of his head into a bloody pulp. She eventually stops, walks off, and just as Victor's hand twitches, which I immediately went, oh, for fuck's sake, please don't end like that, she returns with Zombie's shotgun and fires a gun into the remains of his head and seamlessly killing him, surely killing him. End of movie.
Oh, Hatchet, you've done it again!
Pen, what did you think of Hatchet 2?
It wasn't as good as the first one. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Maybe I'll stick Hatchet 4 in the hat one day.
Oh, God.
Why not 3?
Because 3's really bad. 3's stupid. 4 was good.
I guess we don't really need to know what happens because all these films seem to end the same fucking way, so it doesn't really matter which one you pick, to be honest.
I seem to remember 4 being very self-contained.
Oh.
Like, it's literally shot in a plane crashes in the swamp, and it's mostly shot in the swamp, in the body of the plane.
The same swamp?
Yeah. No, in a different swamp that Victor Crowley's on holiday at.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
the same
I
swamp.
don't know if it was Shrek Swamp or something. There's other swamps available, you know.
The swamps are available. And the only other thing I remember is that Andrew, the paramedic, is on a book tour I think that's why he's on the plane, because he writes a book about surviving, spoilers, the third one. But I liked the fourth one.
But what about 2?
2 was lame. 2 was not as good. Maybe if they'd had more money, but they obviously didn't make any money. They should have used Sean Justin better. The kills were not so good. I found a note where apparently it was 47 minutes of exposition before we get to the swamp and start killing people. And I'm assuming it's only an hour and a half. I haven't written it down.
Yeah, it was an hour and 20 something, wasn't it?
It's like 47 minutes to set up a story that we've already set up.
Only for them to be killed like 20 minutes later, the majority of people as well.
Yeah.
Like dead. It's just
like, and there was not that in the first one they had much of a character arc, you know. But you quite liked, well, I did. I quite liked some of them. They had a bit of a, like even the girls getting their tits out, they were pretty fun. These guys, you were like, you met them, they split off, they died. You're like, I don't care about any of this. So, yeah, it can have a 5 out of 10 from me.
Andrew.
This is far less interesting and fun than the first one. The first one is like a low budget, right?
Yeah.
This one definitely feels like a spoof of that, but also very, very shit. None of the characters are likable. Mary Beth I fucking hate her. She spends the whole time crying.
She does. But to be fair, the first Mary Beth did as well. Remember, because you complained.
No, she didn't. She sits on the bus.
If you go back to especially the clip I made for the socials, one of the very first things you said is, oh, and she's fucking crying again, is one of the things you always said. So that was part of her character, apparently.
Yeah, but I don't remember her crying that much. I mean, I remember her on the bus being chatted to by Ben and him telling her she's got a nice coat.
Yeah.
In this one, she doesn't even have a coat.
0 out of 10.
What happened to her coat?
She lost it in the first movie.
Anyway, I think she's a fucking nightmare. I don't like her. She ruined it for me. The acting's crap. Even Tony Todd couldn't save it. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10.
Ooh. It's not good. It's not as good and not as fun as the first one, as the guy said. You can visually see the budget as well, as Penny mentioned. Like you can you can just see. I know it's hard to do on a lower budget, but like you can possibly, especially with Victor Crowley, you can notice it a lot with the stuff he has on his face.
The prosthetics.
Prosthetics, that's it. Yeah, it doesn't look as realistic. I'm choosing my words carefully here, but it doesn't, you know what I mean? It looks fake, more fake on Hatchet 2 than it did in Hatchet 1. I'd like the deaths were still kind of cool and creative, but yeah, there was just no interesting plot at all. And I don't even think the first one had that much of an interesting plot, but it was fun and it was enjoyable, and there was at least 1 or 2 characters that were kind of enjoyable enough that were there for majority of the film. New characters in this just last like 20 fucking minutes and that's it, and that's their story.
You could have had them in longer if you hadn't. I didn't need him to be cursed as a baby.
Yeah, that stuff is
like
bollocks.
If you'd have got rid of all, I think Andy didn't say this last time, but I think he hit the nail on the head with it. Felt like a spoof.
Yeah, it does
like,
a bit, doesn't it?
A spoof of what it was, which is a shame.
So last time we did this, I agreed with whatever Andy picked in terms of score. So I'm also going to agree with Andy and give it a 3.
Yes.
I'm sure you guys gave it 4s last time.
I think we gave it a 4, but I think we hate it even more after thinking about it again.
Well, I've got 3 on my notes.
Oh, okay. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
3,
so,
and 5.
guys, let's pull the movie out of the hat for next time in 2 weeks. Oh, I wonder what it's going to be.
At least this one doesn't have a massive reaction.
Hey, but we don't know what it is yet, Penny.
We watched it today. We're about to record it in 10 minutes. Sausages.
Oh, fucking sausages.
But that's what I mean. At least it's not like a James Bond or a 50 Shades where one of us had a massive reaction to it. We all just went, yeah, all right.
True.
The next time she complains about the sausages to me, I'm fucking bringing this conversation up. I try to keep it in fucking non-sausagey detail without breaking the sausages I put last time.
I feel like the more you bring it up, the more I want to show everyone the sausages. It's still so extra.
Even for what we already know what it is.
All I can think about every time I hear is, it needs more triangles.
Well, you've got 5 of them. Get on it.
Yeah.
The movie out of the hat in 2 weeks is the 2007. Thank you. I nearly lost my note. 2007 English version, Funny Games. This was Andy's choice.
Yes. I'm really glad you put this in because I meant to and I forgot.
Starring Naomi Watts and Tim Roth.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I think Andy gave an explanation to it. So do you want to give a short synopsis, Andy, again?
It is a home invasion film with an art house twist.
It's good.
There you go. It's a home invasion film with an art house twist. So we're watching that in 2 weeks.
So you should love this. You love snobby art house films.
Yeah.
I should love it, didn't I? I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know. I'm going in with fresh minds, and I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, obviously, because I haven't seen it yet. So anyway,
I really hope it's not bleak as fuck.
I'm excited.
really hope it's quite a fun. Is it a comedy, rom-com?
It's not fun at all.
Okay, fine. Penny, what is our socials, please?
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Unusual Suspects Pod and on Twitter at Unusual Podspect. I'm at Penny_photopip on Twitter.
At Dan Talks a Lot.
That choice is 21.
We're back next week. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. And we won't have to do this again. We won't have to bring out our favourite resident guest. And, I mean, if it happens again, I mean, this is going to be the intro for our next episode.
If it happens again, we're going to replace Dan.
What?
Nothing.
Whoa, wait a minute, what?
Not
We
really.
didn't have this discussion in the staff
Not
meeting.
really. I'm joking. We would never.
I was going to say we should replace him with Jenny, but imagine that. I would leave for next week.
She won't like funny games. She hates home invasion movies. They scare her. She would not like this movie at all.
Hopefully we won't have to play Ronan again. That's all I'm saying. Anyway,
be fine.
thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. Love
Thanks,
you all.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.